Well, here we are again. In my previous video discussing the gods of death in mythology and folklore, many of you kindly pointed out that a few of them had been missed. So, this one is for you, my friends. If you haven't seen part 1, then please feel free to watch that, or not, it's your life, but you'll find a link in the description. Also, apologies in advance for any mispronunciations. Research goes into how each name is said, however, I am only human. Or an AI voice according to some of you out there. Either way, please forgive me. A quick clarification before we begin. Much like in part 1, in this video we'll not only focus on Grim Reaper type entities who are responsible for taking lives, but also those that are associated with death, the underworld, and the afterlife. Lastly, if you love mythology, be sure to check out our clothing brand, Pantheon Apparel. Here you'll find epic designs inspired by mythology, folklore and legends, including our new Gods of Death collection. We ship worldwide and are rated excellent on Trustpilot. You'll find a link in the description. Right, here we go. The Grim Reaper, one of the most iconic figures associated with death, is often depicted as a hooded, skeletal, yes, skeletal, not skeletal, both though are valid English pronunciations, skeletal figure wielding a large scythe. This image has become synonymous with the personification of death in Western culture. The Grim Reaper is believed to appear at the moment of death to sever the soul from the body, guiding it to the afterlife. His presence is both feared and inevitable, representing the universal nature of death. The origins of the Grim Reaper can be traced back to medieval Europe, particularly during the time of the Black Death in the 14th century. The massive death toll from the plague, combined with the widespread fear of mortality, led to the visualization of death as a tangible figure. The skeletal form of the Grim Reaper symbolizes the decay of the body after death, while the scythe he carries is reminiscent of the tools used during harvest, metaphorically representing the harvesting of the souls. Though primarily a Western concept, the Grim Reaper shares similarities with various death deities and figures across cultures. Mr. Reaper is not depicted as evil in most interpretations. Instead, he's a neutral figure performing the necessary task of guiding souls to their final destination, whether it be heaven, hell, or another afterlife. Nuestra Señora de la Santa Muerta, often simply called Santa Muerta, is a figure deeply rooted in Mexican folklore and neo-pagan beliefs. She's portrayed as a skeletal female entity, garbed typically in a long robe embodying death and its various aspects. This iconography is evocative of a Grim Reaper, a common symbol of mortality across various cultures, but uniquely feminized in the case of Santa Muerta. In her hands, Santa Muerta might hold several objects, like a scythe or a globe, each symbolizing her powers over life and the earthly realm. The scythe can represent the cutting of negative energies or a severing from material constraints, while the globe signifies her reach across the world. Santa Muerta is often associated with various attributes and protections. She's believed to offer healing, safety and guidance to the afterlife, embodying both the fears and acceptance of death. Her followers turn to her in times of personal crisis, looking for miracles and protection, which has contributed to her portrayal as a complex figure who is both feared and revered. The sons of Horus were not merely sons of the sky god, but also crucial figures in the realm of death and the afterlife. These 4 deities, Imseti, Hapi, Duamutef, and Kebes-Nerf, were inextricably linked to the funerary rituals of ancient Egypt. Their primary role was the protection of the deceased internal organs. During the mummification process, these vital organs were removed and placed in canopic jars. Each son was assigned a specific organ to safeguard. Imseti watched over the liver, Hapi protected the lungs, Duamutef guarded the stomach, and Kebes-Nerf cared for the intestines. These organs were believed to be essential for the deceased's continued existence in the afterlife. Beyond their role as organ protectors, the sons of Horus acted as powerful guardians on the journey to the underworld. They were seen as formidable figures, capable of warding off dangers and ensuring the safe passage of the soul. Their presence was considered vital for a successful transition into the afterlife. In the ancient Greek pantheon, Hecate stands as a figure of immense power and complexity. Known predominantly as the goddess of magic and witchcraft, her influence extends into the domain of death, where she serves as a guardian and guide for the souls of the deceased. As the goddess of crossroads, Hecate's statues were often placed at these junctures, symbolizing her role as a protector at the critical points where paths diverge and fates are decided. Depicted holding torches to light her way through the darkness and keys to open the gates of the underworld, Hecate's representation reflects a vital role in guiding souls between realms. Her presence at the borders of these worlds underscores her ability to oversee transitions, particularly the passage of souls into the afterlife, establishing her as an essential deity in rites and myths concerning the end of life. Hecate's connection to the underworld is further emphasized during the Deepnon, the dark phase of the moon, considered her sacred time. During this period, offerings were left at crossroads to honor her and seek her favor, which was believed to ease the passage of spirits and bring protection to the living. Her role in these rites highlights her dual nature as both a nurturer of the deceased and a wielder of profound esoteric knowledge. Macaria, known in Greek mythology as the daughter of Hades and Persephone, holds a unique role in the pantheon as the goddess associated with a blessed death. Unlike other deities linked to death, Macaria's domain is more closely tied to the peaceful and fortunate passing of souls, often connected with the afterlife, rewards for the righteous. As the daughter of Hades, the god of the underworld, Macaria's presence in Greek mythology reflects the softer, more compassionate side of death. She is seen as a counterpart to the more somber and sometimes fearsome aspects of the underworld, offering a more serene transition for souls destined for Elysium or the islands of the blessed. In this way, Macaria's role complements that of her father, overseeing the aspect of death that involves not punishment, but peace and the final rest for those who have led virtuous lives. Macaria's association with death emphasizes the importance of the afterlife in Greek belief systems, where the quality of one's death and the afterlife experience could vary significantly depending on how one lived. Her role underscores the nuanced view of death in Greek mythology, where it is not only a matter of fear, but also of hope for a blessed and peaceful end. Hermes, the messenger of the gods in Greek mythology, may not spring to mind as a deity of death, but his role as a psychopomp, an escort of souls to the afterlife, makes him a crucial figure in this domain. While Hermes is widely recognized for his swiftness and his duties as a herald of the gods, he also serves a vital function in guiding the souls of the deceased to the underworld. This lesser-known aspect of Hermes' character emphasizes his importance in the transition between life and death. As a psychopomp, Hermes is responsible for leading the souls of the dead to Hades, the ruler of the underworld. His role ensures that the journey from the world of the living to the realm of the dead is safe and orderly. This task reflects his ability to traverse boundaries not just between the mortal and divine realms, but between life and death. Hermes' involvement in this process highlights the Greek understanding of death as a passage rather than an end, with the god acting as a guide to ensure that each soul reaches its proper destination. His presence provides comfort and order in the face of death, making him an essential figure in Greek mythology's intricate portrayal of the afterlife. Izanami, a pivotal figure in Japanese mythology, embodies both creation and death. Alongside her consort Izanagi, she participated in the creation of the Japanese islands and numerous kame, deities, through a celestial rite involving a jeweled spear. This foundational myth establishes them as the progenitors of the natural and divine elements of the world. However, Izanami's narrative takes a tragic turn during the birth of Kagetsuchi, the fire god, when she succumbs to severe burns and dies. She subsequently descends to Yomi, the underworld, where she assumes rulership. This transition marks her as a deity deeply associated with the afterlife and the governance of deceased souls. Overwhelmed by grief, Izanagi follows Izanami into Yomi, hoping to bring her back to the living world. Defying the norms of the underworld, he lights a torch to see her, only to discover her decayed form. Horrified, Izanagi flees, provoking Izanami's wrath. She sends the hags of Yomi to chase him, but he manages to escape and seals the entrance to Yomi with a large boulder, permanently separating the world of the living from the dead, over which Izanagi rules as queen. In Slavic mythology, Morana, also known as Marzana in Poland, Morina in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and Mara in Eastern Slavic cultures, is a complex goddess associated with winter, death, and the cycle of nature's rebirth. She emerges as a significant figure that encapsulates the transition from the deathly cold of winter to the fertile bloom of spring. Morana is often depicted as a powerful deity with dominion over winter and death. In mythology, she is seen as a bringer of the season's fatal chill, embodying the natural decay and dormancy of winter. This representation links her closely with the themes of darkness and the end, yet she is also a crucial part of the cycle that leads to renewal and rebirth. Her role extends to guiding the souls of the deceased to the underworld, underscoring her as a bridge between the living world and the afterlife. Her story is woven with elements of tragedy and power. In some legends, Morana is described as the daughter of Lada, the goddess of beauty and fertility, and an unnamed god of the underworld, highlighting her intrinsic connection to both life and death. This duality paints Morana not just as a symbol of inevitable end, but also as a necessary force that ensures the continuity of life cycles. Morana's narrative is also enriched by tales of her interactions with other deities and symbols of different seasons, depicting her as a key figure in the mythological explanations of seasonal change. Each year, as winter recedes and the spring approaches, her influence wanes, symbolizing the defeat of death and cold by the life-giving forces of spring, a recurring theme that illustrates the perpetual struggle between the different forces of nature. Also in Slavic folklore, we have the shape-shifting Velus, a deity often associated with the underworld, embodying roles that extend beyond his patronage of livestock and his lordship over waters. As a god of the underworld, Velus is depicted as a custodian of the deceased souls, marking him as a significant deity in the realm of death and the afterlife. His connection to the netherworld is symbolized by his frequent depiction as a serpent or dragon, creatures often linked with subterranean realms and deathly powers in various mythologies. Velus's role as a death god is intertwined with his attributes as a shapeshifter and a trickster. In myths, he challenges Perun, the god of thunder and heavens, by ascending from the underworld in various forms, whether as animals, people, or even elements of nature. This ascendancy from below disrupts the cosmic order, leading to battles that are both literal and symbolic representations of the cyclical struggle between life and death, chaos and order. The aftermath of these battles, where Velus is defeated but not destroyed, represents the continuous cycle of death and rebirth, a fundamental aspect of Slavic belief systems regarding the natural world and the afterlife. Furthermore, Velus' domain over the underworld and his association with magic and the mystical arts also underline his role as a mediator between the earthly and the ethereal, guiding the spirits of the dead to their final resting places in the shadowy realms he governs. This places Velus at the heart of Slavic rituals concerned with death, where he is both revered and propitiated as a pivotal figure who controls the fates of souls beyond their earthly existence. Maman brigit is a revered figure in Haitian voodoo known as the Loa, or spirit of death and cemeteries. Unique among the Loa, she has links to Celtic mythology, specifically linked to the Irish goddess Brigid and Saint Brigid of Kildare. Her association with cemeteries involves her role as protector of graves, where she ensures the sanctity of burial sites, often marked by mounds of stones or crosses. Maman brigit is typically depicted as a woman with red hair, reflecting her Irish origins, and is known for her forthright and sometimes vulgar manner. Alongside her husband, Baron Samedi, they guide the Goede, a family of spirits associated with the afterlife. Maman brigit's attributes include healing powers, particularly in guiding souls to the afterlife if healing is not possible, and protection, especially for women in distress. She is worshipped with offerings of candles, black roosters, and pepper-infused rum, reflecting her fiery and protective nature. Maman Brigit's connection to the Black Rooster, an emblem of the dawn and new beginnings, symbolizes the cycle of life and rebirth, which is central to her role within the voodoo pantheon. This aspect, along with her fierce protection of the dead and their resting places, underscores her importance in the voodoo practice, where she is considered a nurturing yet powerful force. Papa Legbar, also a central figure in Haitian voodoo, is revered as the intermediary between the living and the spirits. Known for his role at the crossroads, he controls access to the spirit world, making him pivotal in voodoo ceremonies where he is often the first and last spirit invoked. His association with the crossroads symbolizes his ability to open and close paths, not just in a physical sense, but also in spiritual and metaphorical terms. This positions him as the guardian of not only the metaphysical thresholds, but also as a mediator of the afterlife. Legbar's depiction varies, typically seen as an elderly man with a cane, embodying wisdom and connection to the spirit world. His presence is marked by elements of both benevolence and trickery, embodying the complexities of life's choices and consequences. As such, he is not just a guide, but also a protector who can offer new opportunities or remove obstacles, albeit with the expectation of respect and proper offerings from those who seek his aid. In rituals, Legbar is essential for communication with the Loa, as he translates the languages and intentions of humans to the spirit world, ensuring that prayers and petitions are understood and responded to appropriately. This makes him an indispensable figure in voodoo practice, embodying a bridge between humanity and the divine. In Hindu mythology, Kali is the goddess of death, time and destruction, marking her as a pivotal deity associated with the cycle of life and rebirth. Her origins are tied to combative myths where she emerges as a ferocious figure crafted from the rage of the goddess Durga during a battle with the demon Raktabija. In this legend, Kali's role is crucial as she prevents the rise of further demons by consuming Raktabija and drinking his blood, ensuring that no drops hit the ground to spawn more adversaries. Depicted with stark, fearsome features such as blue or black skin, a garland of skulls, a skirt of severed arms, and a protruding tongue, Kali's imagery symbolizes her dominion over death and her role as the ultimate destroyer of evil. This fearsome aspect is balanced by her nurturing, motherly nature to her devotees, illustrating the duality of destruction and renewal inherent in her worship. Her iconography and attributes are laden with deep symbolism. Her blackness represents the all-encompassing nature of the void from which everything emerges and eventually returns. The garland of skulls and severed hands signify her dominion over time and karma, while her weapons and fierce demeanor highlight her role as a protector and liberator of those who seek her refuge from moral and spiritual peril. Freya, in Norse mythology, is renowned as the goddess of love, fertility, war, and magic. Her role extends beyond mere beauty and desire, as she also governs the more solemn domains of death and the afterlife. Known for her association with the Vanir tribe of gods, Freya's narrative is rich with tales of her prowess in Seder, a form of magic used to alter fate and perceive the future, making her a highly respected and multifaceted deity. One of Freya's most notable roles is her dominion over the afterlife realm of Folkvanga. Here she selects half of the warriors slain in battle, demonstrating her integral role in the cycle of life and death. This selection process showcases her importance in the preparation of Ragnarok, the end of the world in Norse mythology, where these chosen warriors are deemed essential. Freya's connection with various elements symbolizes her complex nature. She rides a chariot pulled by cats, wears the precious Brisingamen necklace, and has the power to transform into a falcon. These attributes reflect her dominion over love and fertility, as well as her fierce aspect as a war goddess who commands the Valkyries and chooses the slain warriors destined for her hall. King Yan, also known as Yan Lo Wang, is a formidable figure in Chinese mythology, serving as the ruler of the underworld and the judge of the dead. He presides over Diyu, the realm of the dead, where he oversees the judgment and punishment of souls based on their actions in life. This role highlights his central place in the cosmic order of Chinese beliefs, emphasizing themes of justice, morality, and the afterlife consequences of earthly behavior. In mythology, Yan Wang is often depicted as a stern and fearsome judge, accompanied by guardians Oxhead and Horseface, who assist in maintaining order with the underworld and bringing the souls before him for judgment. This imagery underscores his authority and the serious nature of his duties. Yan Wang's judgments are critical in determining the fate of souls, whether they move on to better reincarnations, suffer punishments, or potentially even ascend to higher spiritual existences based on their earthly deeds. This process is integral to the functioning of the underworld, reflecting the broader Chinese cultural emphasis on ethical conduct and the moral implications of people's actions. Erck, also known as Erck Khan, is a prominent figure in Turkic and Mongolian mythology, revered as the god of death and the underworld. He's often depicted as a dark and malevolent deity, embodying the forces of evil, death, and destruction. Erck resides in the depths of the underworld, a place associated with darkness, decay, and the finality of death. According to the myths, Erck was one of the first beings created by the supreme deity Ulgan. However, due to his pride and subsequent rebellion, Erck was cast out of the heavenly realms and banished to the underworld. This expulsion marked him as a symbol of opposition to the forces of light and order. In the underworld, Erck became the ruler of the dead, overseeing souls of the deceased and serving as a judge who determines their fate in the afterlife. Erck's influence extends to causing plagues, diseases, and various forms of suffering on Earth, often symbolizing the unavoidable nature of death and the harsh realities of the human condition. His role is not limited to punishment and destruction. He also represents the cyclical nature of life and death, with significant impact on shamanistic practices in the region. Shamans often sought Erck's guidance or appeasement to ensure the safe passage of souls to the afterlife to protect the living from his malevolent influence. Oya, in Yoruba mythology, is not only a goddess of storms and winds, but also a significant deity associated with death and the afterlife. As the guardian of cemeteries, Oya holds a crucial role in overseeing the passage of souls from the world of the living to the afterlife. This connection to death makes her a powerful intermediary between life and the spiritual realms, where she guides and protects the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. Her role as the queen of the cemetery underscores her importance in the Yoruba belief system, where death is seen as a transition rather than an end. Oya's fierce and protective nature extends to her control over the gates of the cemetery, where she decides who may enter and ensures the safe passage of souls. This makes her a revered figure in rituals surrounding death, where she's invoked to provide strength, guidance, and protection for both the living and the dead. In addition to her role as guardian of the dead, Oya governs the winds that sweep away the old, making way for new life, reflecting the cycle of destruction and renewal that is central to the Yoruba understanding of life and death. Samael, known as the Angel of Death, is a formidable and complex figure in Jewish mysticism and folklore. His name, which translates to the venom of God, reflects his dual role as both a destroyer and a servant of divine will. As the Angel of Death, Samael is responsible for carrying out the divine decree of death, often depicted as administrating a lethal drop of poison to souls at the moment of their passing. Samael's character embodies both the terrifying and necessary aspects of death, maintaining the balance between life and the afterlife. In addition to his role as a deathbringer, Samael is also seen as an accuser and a seducer, leading souls into temptation and ultimately to their doom. This dual nature positions him as an enforcer of divine justice and a tempter, further complicating his image in religious and mystical texts. Some traditions even associate Samael with the serpent of the Garden of Eden, suggesting his involvement in humanity's original sin. Despite his fearsome reputation, Samael's existence is essential to the cosmic order, illustrating the intricate interplay between life, death, justice, and transgression in the spiritual realm. In Breton, Cornish and Welsh folklore, Anku is often regarded as the personification of death. This spectral figure is traditionally depicted as an elderly skeletal man wearing a black cloak and wide-brimmed hat, which conceals his face. He wields a scythe and is associated with a creaky cart or coach pulled by horses that he uses to collect the souls of the deceased. The appearance of Anku, or the sound of his cart, is considered an omen of impending death. Anku is said to be the last person who dies in a year in a parish, and for the next year, this soul becomes Anku for that area. This role as a collector of souls ties Anku deeply into the community's understanding of death and the afterlife, reflecting the cycle of life and death that every community undergoes. In some stories, Anku was once a living prince or a cruel man who, after encountering death himself, was cursed to exist eternally as Anku, roaming the earth and guiding souls to the afterlife. This figure embodies not only the fear of death, but also serves as a guardian who ensures that souls reach the afterlife safely. Hine Nui Tapo in Maori mythology is revered as the goddess of the underworld, a pivotal figure who embodies the transition from life to death. Originally known as Hine Te Tama, she is the daughter of Tane, the god of forests and birds. Her transformation into Hine Nui Tapo occurred after a devastating personal revelation. She learned that Tane, whom she had married, was also her father. Overwhelmed by this discovery, Hine Te Tama fled to the underworld where she embraced her new role as Hine Nui Tapo, the guardian of the afterlife. In this capacity, she receives the spirits of the deceased, guiding them through their journey in the spiritual realm. Her dominion over the underworld is marked by her deep connection to the process of death and rebirth, where she ensures that the cycle of life continues beyond physical existence. As the goddess of death, Hine Nui Tapo is central to the spiritual landscape of the Maori, overseeing the passage of souls and playing a crucial role in the maintenance of the cosmic balance between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Velus in Baltic mythology is a key figure associated with the underworld and the spirits of the dead. As the god of the dead, Velus oversees the souls of those who have passed on, ensuring their journey to the afterlife is guided and protected. His domain includes the spiritual realm where he exerts control over the dead, safeguarding the boundaries between the world of the living and the realm of the deceased. Velus plays a crucial role in maintaining the spiritual order, where his influence ensures that the deceased are properly guided to their final resting place. His position as the guardian of the dead reflects the deep respect the Baltic people have for death and the afterlife, emphasizing the importance of honoring and respecting those who have passed. Velus' responsibilities as a god of the dead highlight the significant place he holds within Baltic religious traditions, where he is both feared and revered as a powerful figure governing the afterlife. Ananga, a prominent figure in the mythology of several Brazilian indigenous groups, is often associated with both the protection of the forest and the sinister realm of death and the afterlife. While seen as a benevolent protector of wildlife during life, his role takes on a darker turn after death. Many indigenous cultures believe that the soul of a deceased individual is vulnerable to the malevolent influence of Ananga. It is feared that the spirit of the departed may be captured or harmed by this powerful entity. To protect the deceased, intricate funerary rites and rituals are performed. These often involve creating a barrier between the world of the living and the spirit world to deter Ananga. Furthermore, Ananga is linked to various forms of misfortune and illness. It is believed that he can inflict suffering upon the living in a form of retribution or simply an expression of his malevolent nature. This fear has led to the development of protective measures and apotropaic rituals designed to ward off his influence. And that, people, brings us to the end of part 2. While there are undoubtedly many more deities associated with death and the afterlife that we couldn't cover today, I'm sure you'll point those out that I've missed. I hope you've enjoyed this journey through the realms of the afterlife with me. Once again, we're reminded of the incredible depth and diversity of beliefs that span cultures across the globe, each offering unique perspectives on life, death, and what lies beyond.